right side there. David?
Hey, Mike. David Moore, Dallas Morning News. When you had the second of two matchups against a division team and you beat them as big of a score as you did in the first one, do you guard against taking them for granted the second time around, or has this group been around enough you don't worry about that?
I mean, it's definitely a division game, has obviously a lot of history to it. I mean, you could look at last year's game, just the first one in versus the second one, if you want a comparable. But no, I mean, you have to stay engaged in, what's going on with their football team since week one and, what's going on with our football team. But, clearly understand, maybe the viewpoint outside of, our workplace of the game. But, we need this win. We need the 6th win. We need another home victory. We've done a really good job taking care of our home turf. And that's really as far as it goes.
Clarence Hill, Fort Worth Star Telegram. At least from an outside view, when we watched Tyron Smith at training camp, it looked like he struggled with Micah. Was there any concern that he would ever get back to being no sack, giving up Tyron Smith that he's been so far this season?
Well, I think like anything, players are sometimes on different planes at training camp. So yeah, there was never a concern for. I mean, everybody had a little bit of trouble with Mike at training camp this year. So, and I think in how we train too. So it isn't, when you go through an install, you remember the offense has to get the defense lined up. So when the offense's training camp is, and it's been my history, is normally behind the defense because you're going from install 1 to 2 to 3. So you're putting in where the defense is able to get their workload in the menus in quicker. And hit the rhythm lower. So I mean, you're definitely going to have some of that. Has been, like I said, has been my experience. So and that's no different for players too, because they're sometimes playing uphill a little more than they are playing downhill. So yeah, I really didn't come out of that thinking about anybody. What I was focused on was really, and we've talked about it time and time again, was the continuity of our offensive line. So, and I think that's as important as anything. Number one, Tyron's health, but number two, to get connected with Tyler Smith. And I thought those two played. That's the best our left side's played in my time here.
Would you say he's played? I mean, since he's been here, obviously he hasn't played a lot, but
correct.
The way he's playing now is the best he's been since he's been here.
Well, yeah, that was the best game. I mean, that was the best game. But yeah, I mean, once again, the most important thing for offensive line is continuity, consecutive starts, and and that comes with health.
Mike, Todd Archer with ESPN. You talked about Ferguson yesterday and had the weight. Had a hard time last year keeping his weight up. What has he been able to do this year? Or is that just an evolution a player has to go through?
Well, that's normal. I mean, yeah. I mean, your rookies come in here, and I think if you look at the history of an off-season program, still you don't have the players as long as you used to. But I remember back in the mid 2000s, prior to the 2011 CBA, a really good off-season program was, one of your young guys was able to put on, 10 pounds of lean muscle mass as a, so now you're seeing more and more and more of it. And I think it's, just the evolution of the training in these athletes. But yeah, so that to me, my point is it's very normal. I mean, for a guy to come in the 240s to play in the 250s the next year, because, once again, it has to be the right, the weight has to be real. And so yeah, to me, that's very normal. And Peyton was even lighter. So I think both those guys were pretty much in the same ballpark.
Is his ability after the catch better than you thought, or what you thought would be?
No, you can see it on. You can see it in college. I mean, he usually made the first guy miss. He's slippery. He's strong in his lower half too, so he breaks tackles. But he plays with a ton of confidence, and that might be his best asset.
John.
John Michaud, The Athletic. With Marquise Bell, these last 3 games filling in for Leighton at linebacker, what has stood out most to you?
It's productivity. It's just ability. It's he's been clean in the mental part of it. So, I think any time a player's role expands, in play time, that's where probably the biggest stress is. Handling the whole package. So that's where I've been super impressed. I mean, he's been productive. His play looks very comfortable in there, but his confidence of, in our schemes that we're asking him to do, it's been pretty seamless for him.
Calvin.
Calvin Watkins, Dallas Morning News. In a general sense, how difficult is it for rookie quarterbacks in your sport?
How difficult is it? Yeah, I think it's difficult. I mean, I think it's the hardest position in sports. And I think just like anything, you know, they have so much to do. So the connection that they get with their particular perimeter players in the passing game or the protection unit, you know, that takes some time. So, yeah, and I think anytime you see a rookie come in and it's productive, boy, you got to take your hat off to them because that's impressive.
Is it more the mental part of it or the physical side of it?
Oh, it's all three. I mean, it's the emotion of being the guy. It's the mental capacity of, you know, having a clear understanding of not only what the plays are, but the whole operation, the cadence. You know, you can't go up here and play with one or two cadences in this league. You know, which is usually different than some of these quarterbacks coming out of college. But yeah, definitely the mental, the physical. You know, because the physical part too is, you know, it's a long year. You know, it's more than they've ever gone through. You know, as from start to finish.
Kevin Gray, 105 through the Fan. Coach, how do you balance as a primary play caller helping a struggling aspect of the offense, whether it's the running game in this case, with all still keeping in rhythm the passing game which Dak has been playing with? How do you as a play caller balance that to ensure that you're improving that aspect?
I mean, everything we do, you know, as far as, you know, our process of putting together a game plan, really starting on Mondays with the evaluation of the last game is, you know, what can we pay forward? You know, what carries forward from the last week? Every meeting, you know, whether we start normal down and distance in the run game, pass game, and build it through the situations, it started with self-scout. So, you know, we need to clean our own house, you know, every day to make sure, because, you know, once again, we can't build and grow and get into variations of concepts and things like that if we're not strong in the foundation of our base concepts. So, to me, that's what coaching and, you know, we talk about our process, our system, our game plan, procedures, how we practice. You know, that's, you know, everybody does it a little differently. So, but to me, it's about keeping, you know, farming your own land, keeping your own house clean. So, and that's we do that, you know, throughout the week in the game plan, and then the feedback from the players once you watch the practice, and, you know, just keep working it, and, you know, just stay on top of your volume.
Brad.
Mike, Brad Sham, Cowboys Radio. You were talking yesterday about Steele still being in the process of coming back from the injury from last year, and you've mentioned that several times over the last couple of years, but it can take a guy more than a year. Does Pollard fall into that category, or is the nature of his injury too different?
In my opinion, every player that I've worked with that's had a major joint injury, it takes them all a year, because it takes that whole year to go through everything for the first time. You know, it's, you know, their body has changed a little bit. So, you know, whether it's scar tissue or there's just different things that go on with that process. You know, and hey, you know, in today's world, it may be communicated that they feel stronger than they were before the injury. So that's all part of it. But it's a new experience for them, and to go through a whole off-season program for the first time, they have to go through that. Then they got to go through the training camp to accomplish that, and you got to go through it. So I think it takes everybody at least a minimum of a year, because there's a first for everything with the joint injuries.
Yeah.
Joe Hoyt, Lone Star Live. With CD's yards after the catch ability, it looks like he has a really good just feel for where defenders are too. Is that mostly inherent, or is it something that he learns? Or
Oh, no, I told him all that when he got here. But, you know, I think it's CD is he's dynamic with the ball in his hand. I think you saw that in college. You know, it's something, you know, part of the evaluation. You know, he returned punts. I think anytime you see a receiver return punts, you know, that he's got a gift. You know, just to get off the spot. You know, the handling of the football, the dynamics of people coming after him. So, and you know, he could be a starting punt returner in this league clearly. So yeah, he has an incredible amount of natural talent with the ball in his hand.
Todd.
Mike, Leighton can be, I think after this game can come off IR. Do you have any update on where he is?
I don't. Saw him in there this morning briefly. You know, he's working with the rehab guys, but yeah, I do not have an update.
Turpin, will he do much today for you?
He's questionable. You know, we'll see how he feels. Is that a category for Thursday practice? Okay, he's questionable. But he'll be either limited or in a rehab group. I'll know more when I get down to practice.
Skyler Dixon with the AP. Back on CD briefly, how much do you think that San Fran game and his reaction to it was a little bit of a catalyst for the run he's been on since?
It's a great story. But I think he's, you know, he played this way last year, in my opinion. You know, so I mean, everybody was frustrated. You know, and I appreciate those conversations. So, but yeah, I think it's like anything when you shine a light somewhere, and you know, and then you give opportunity. I think that's a positive, you know, step, you know, for you on offense, or you know, with a quarterback, or you know, defense and so forth. So, but yeah, I don't know if I'd say it was a catalyst. You know, I just think it was just a reminder of, you know, what he can do with the ball.
All righty. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.